Hey. So let's get started. Let me share my screen. A very warm welcome to all of you. Hope you are having a great weekend. And New Year's here, we have a long weekend going on. So it's always good to be back after a little bit of break that we have over Friday and Saturday here. So let me share my screen and we will get underway. Okay. Are you able to see the screen? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we'll get started with our opening prayers like we always do. So let me share my screen and we will be getting started. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to today's edition of Daily Wisdom from Bhagavad Gita. Always good to be back after a little bit of a break that we have over the weekend. So let's get started with our Soul Soup segment. So this is the Success, Happiness and Fulfillment series that we are on. And as part of this series, last time we touched upon this topic was something related to problems. Right? Problems is can we avoid problems in life? Can we avoid? The answer is no, we cannot. And Murphy law says anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And in life, there are tons of things that can go wrong. So it is something that we have to accept and embrace as opposed to, um, running away from problems. Now, today we will continue on this topic about problems and move on and say expect problems. We have to preempt problems and not really get surprised if life throws problems at us. So when we talk about expecting problems, it is like one of the first point in handling impediments is of course to expect them. It is not the problem that disturbs us as much as our naive expectations. Right? When we think everything will remain perfect in our life or everything is meant to be perfect. And even like when parents they are blessed with the child, then everybody has this expectation that this child is going to be the next Shravan Kumar. Doesn't work that way, right? And not everybody is going to be a Shravan Kumar. Now, if they are obedient, respectful, that is good, and serve them dutifully in their old age, that is what the expectation is. But if instead of Shravan Kumar, that boy, the kid grows up to be a Rakshas Kumar, then disobedient and rebellious, the parents are shocked. How could he become like that? So we know that at the time of birth, like looking at the world around, seeing things around, all outcomes are possible in life. And when we preempt them, then the disappointment will not be there. So one-sided thinking around everything, that disturbs us, where we expect a happy path. In IT, also when we are um, working on the code, and there's a QA, quality assurance function, right? So which talks about the testing stuff. So when we are testing stuff, it's not just the happy path that you test it for. It is tested for the unusual scenarios as well, things where it can break. And that is the reality of life, because when things go to production, all kind of scenarios can happen, right? The different use cases, they are tested. So we need to be more realistic and expect problems. And it's never going to be downhill all the times. It's going to be uphill, downhill, and that is how life is designed. So to encounter adversities and hardships then is a part of life. And then when we expect problems, then the second aspect, of course, that comes hand in hand is prepare for problems. Now we need to be prepared for them as well. Like there's a joke that a middle schooler, he sent a message to his mother from school. He said, "I flunked in math. Prepare, dad." And mother texted him back, said, "Dad is prepared. You prepare yourself." Okay, so this is how life is. We need to be prepared to face problems. This is a joke, but then this is how life is. We got to be prepared around any eventualities that may happen. It's like a game of chess we are playing with time. Think about life. It's a game of chess, right? So we cannot be checkmated in a position where we are checkmated and don't know where to go next. So you always preempt or try to stay two steps ahead. And even for things that we don't have visibility into, rather than getting befuddled, why did this happen? It's better to be prepared in our mind and take it. Okay, anything can go wrong at any point. That's fine. We just have to face it as they come. And it is said that in boxing, it is not the punch, um, you know, the punch that knocks you out is not the hardest one. See, if you look at Mike Tyson and some of these heavyweight bouts that happen, the punch that knocks out the other person is not usually the hardest one. It is the one which is not anticipated, okay, which you do not see coming. So that is what happens with life as well. It's like a game of chess or a boxing match. You are, fighting, and at any moment, if you land a punch which you don't expect, then it can knock you down. So that should not be the case. So um, now we will, talk about it, how to face problems. The next aspect is to face the problem. We will continue to discuss that. If you don't preempt it, anything can go wrong. You look at some of the case studies, even in the technology sector, right? Motorola and all these companies, they were riding high until smartphones came along, and it simply killed the industry. BlackBerry used to fly high, Nokia, and even Motorola for that matter, and they did not preempt the changing trends and things that were changing fast, disruptors that could come, and it can knock off your business. So there's a beautiful book, small book, Who Moved My Cheese. Um, it's a pretty interesting read. I mean, 1 hour, 2 hour read. It is like somebody's moving your cheese all the time. And it is very relevant depending upon what state of life you are in. A lot of learnings can come out of it, right? It's like when you are busy working or planning or even sleeping, somebody is moving your cheese. So expect problems. Things can change anytime, and it should not come as a complete surprise. When we treat it that way, we are much more equipped to handle it, as opposed to getting knocked down by it. So and then the face the problems would be the next steps that we will continue our discussion on for the rest of the week. So with that said, let's move on to our shloka. Today we are moving to 5.5. I'm going to recite it and then you're welcome to follow along. Yat sankhyaye prapyate sthanam tadyo. Okay. Yat sankhyaye prapyate sthanam तदयोगैरपि गम्यते एकं सांख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति. Okay, let's take a few minutes.
Radhe Radhe Neetaji, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
Yat sankhyaih prapyate sthanam tad yogairapi gamyate ekam sakhyam cha yogam cha yah pashyati sa pashyati. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Shyamji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Tat Sankhe Prapyate Sthanam Tad Yogerapi Gamyate Ekam Sankham Cha Yogam Cha यः पश्यति स पश्यति. राधे राधे.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe. Shyamji.
लक्ष्मी जी राधे राधे.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. Yat Sankhya Prapyate Sthanam Tat Yogair Apigamyate Ekam Sankyam Cha Yogam Cha Yaha Pashyati Sa Pashyati. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you. Radhe Radhe. Okay, let's take the remaining 2 hands, 3 hands.
संध्या जी राधे राधे.
राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe.
यस्साङ्ख्यैः प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति.
Very
Thank
nice
you.
time. Radhe Radhe. Shri Ramya, please go ahead.
राधे राधे श्रीरमण जी.
राधे राधे. यत् साङ्ख्यै प्राप्यते स्थानं तत् योगैरपि गम्यते एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Shri Ramya. Udayji, please go ahead. Last 2 hands.
राधे राधे उदय जी.
या राधे राधे. यत् साङ्ख्यै प्राप्यते स्थानं तद् योगैरपि गम्यते एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति. राधे राधे.
Thank you. Udayji. Sandhya, go ahead, please.
यत् साङ्ख्ये प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति.
Very nice. Thank you. So let's move on. So in this shloka, Lord Krishna is saying the supreme state that is attained by means of Karm Sanyas is also attained by working in devotion. Hence, those who see Karam Sannyas and Karam Yoga to be identical truly see things as they are. Now, this is pretty interesting, right? We have spent a lot of time talking about Karam Yoga, Karam Sannyas, and why Karam Yoga is the preferred path for 99.9% of the people and is considered superior to Karam Sannyas, as Lord Krishna has stated as well. And in this shloka, he's thickening the plot. He's saying that Karam Yoga and Karam Sannyas are identical. They are both the same, right? It seems very divergent the way you take the fundamental approach you take about both of those. But here he's saying they are both identical. And that is where we are going to spend time on this shloka. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, let's start with, let's understand. Again, back to fundamentals. We do perform tasks with our body. Right? Where Karamindriyas are there, where we perform, that was one of the quiz questions that came as well. We perform tasks with our body. And then we are performing tasks with our senses as well. And then we perform tasks with our mind as well. All three we could be performing with one of these, multiple combination, all of these, right? Now, from a scriptural, spiritual standpoint, the task that we perform from our body and senses doesn't count. Isn't it really interesting? We do so much of work using our body and senses throughout the day, throughout our lives. From a spiritual standpoint, it doesn't count at all. Zero. Okay. Completely zero what you are doing. And it is zero karma, whatever you're doing with your body and senses. It is completely zero. Okay. Even if you're killing somebody, it is zero. Because there is another entity which counts. Only karma that counts is what is going on in your head. That is the true karma. Okay. What is going on in your mind. And that is the real karma. Okay. So this is a very key concept that needs to be understood. What you do through your gross body, you did your body and your senses, it doesn't count. It is zero karma. What you do through your mind, because when you're engaging your body and senses, your mind is engaged somewhere as well, right? It is the mind aspect of it which truly counts towards the karma, not the physical drill that you are doing. Okay. So even in devotion, when we are doing Om Jai Jagdish Hare, Sukh Sampatti Gharave, whatever we are doing, if we are doing it with our senses alone and our physical drill, it doesn't count for anything. If your mind is in the God, that is what you get credit for. Okay, so that is what, and even in your actions, the actions that you are performing, where your mind is, that is what will count. So this is the fundamental. If you've understood, it will help you reconcile that. We are going to get into that discussion of Karam Yoga and Karam Sannyas, why they are identical. Okay, it's the mind aspect of it which matters, and that is what we are going to get into a little more detail on today. Now the gate is determined by the gati of the mind. Okay, which gate are we talking about? Let's look at it through a story. So here's a monk. He's residing in an ashram, and he would get up early in the morning, do his Sandhya Vandan and all the rituals, recite mantras, chanting, Naivedyam to God, all the activities that he would do. Okay. And as the luck would have it, near that ashram, there was a monk, near that ashram, there was a prostitute as well who used to dwell pretty nearby. Okay. So the kings and all those people would visit this prostitute, and the monk was aware of it as well. And it was not very far off from the ashram. In fact, in very close proximity to the ashram itself. Now, when one day they both died, and when they died, the monk went to, you see, it looks pretty nice. This is gate of heaven. And then the prostitute, gate of hell. Not quite actually. So when they went, it actually got swapped. You see, the monk went to hell and the prostitute went to heaven. Why so? Was it some kind of a case of mistaken identity that happened? No, actually the way it worked is because this monk would always think about this prostitute. What kind of an existence is this? How despicable it is to have her near that, and what kind of acts is she indulging in near the ashram and disturbing the holiness and stuff like that. So his mind space would occupy all those thoughts throughout the day. On the other hand, the prostitute would always think what kind of a holy existence this monk or this ashram people are having, right? How nice it would be to be in that place and not have a kind of existence that I'm forced to be in right now. So her mind would always be in holy things, and monk's mind would always be in the bitterness, resentment towards that aspect. And because of that, they got those results that they did. So this is a very powerful story. In fact, there's another story about Tavrit Suvrit we have done in our previous sessions as well, where these two brothers, Tavrit and Suvrit, they wanted to go to a Bhagavatam story in a temple. And as the luck would have it, it started raining very heavily. So the Tavrit and both of them, they took refuge. And the place where they took refuge was a brothel. So Tavrit and Suvrit both were inside, and they both saw that this is not what they had signed up for the evening. They wanted to go to Bhagavatam, and here they are stuck in a brothel. Nevertheless, Suvrit said, okay, let me carry on. I can brave the rain and carry on. Tavrit stayed back. He stayed back in the brothel, and Suvrit continued to the Bhagavatam story. He reached there, and when he reached there, he was listening to the Bhagavad story. He said, you know what, Tavrit must be having a good time in the brothel right now. Why did I come here? And on the other hand, Tavrit was thinking, I'm not made up of mud or something, clay that the rain would have melted me. I should have gone there. My brother would be having a good time at Bhagavatam. Okay, I should have gone there as well. So his mind is in Bhagavatam, that I should have visited the temple, and this guy's mind is in brothel, that my brother must be having a good time. So both start walking towards each other. And before they could meet, lightning struck and both departed. And the Yamdut, when he came, he took Tavrit to heaven and Suvrit to hell. Suvrit thought it's kind of a case of a mistaken identity. I was at the Bhagavatam and my brother was there. So Yamraj said, no, you were at Bhagavatam, but your mind was in brothel. He was in brothel, but his mind was in Bhagavatam. So that is the significance of our mind, where our state of mind, the state of mind that we are in, the thought we have in our mind. That is the real deal, not the physical act per se. Okay. And that is why Swamiji has spent so much of time expanding upon this mind management and how to develop a fertile mind which can generate nothing but noble thoughts. So he spent a lot of time on that mind aspect of it, and Maharaj's philosophy also centers around that Manasi Bhakti, the remembrance part of it. Mind is the key thing, not the physical drill that you do. So keeping that in mind, that mind is the key thing, let's move on. Mind matters. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So let's see what mind matters. Now, the Vedic scriptures state that our level of consciousness is determined by the state of our mind. Like Panchadashi states it very clearly, Manev Manushyanam Karanam Bandha Mokshayo. Mind alone is the cause of our bondage and liberation. And chapter 6, verse 5, not 5. Uddhare Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avasadiyet, it says. So this shloka also talks about that we need to see the mind has, it said that it is the biggest benefactor of the soul. It has a potential of giving us the most benefit. It is said the mind is a bad master but a good servant. So depending upon whether you are subservient to your mind or your mind is subservient to you, mind could either be your enemy or your friend. And that is essentially what the shloka is reciting as well. Now, an uncontrolled mind, um, it can be our greatest adversary, and it has the potential for causing us the maximum harm. Now, what more harm can it cause than making us repeat in this world? That itself talks about something, right? When we talk about spirituality, we talk about cleansing our antakaran. Cleansing our antakaran means fixing our mind. Fixing our mind means attaching, giving it basically, figuring out a game plan on how to attach it to God. And so that it becomes a fertile ground for noble thoughts, selfless love. So all that is fixing the mind aspect of it only, right? So if you think about it, when we fix our mind, the job is done. There's nothing else to be done from a spiritual perspective. It's all a game of mind. And a controlled mind, it can accomplish many beneficial endeavors. And an uncontrolled mind, it can degrade our consciousness with most ignoble thoughts. And in order for us to befriend it, we need to first understand its nature, its gati. If we don't understand our adversary, how it plots its moves, what are the things what are its weaknesses are, how to tame it, we will never be able to crack it. And that is why, like I said, like Swamiji has written books and books on mind management, right? So we need to understand mind's nature. How does our mind work? We go around trying to fix the world around, but the irony is that we don't even know our own self, how our mind works, what kind of thoughts it can generate, and how it is actually um, one of the biggest impediments on our spiritual journey. Okay, so this is the importance of our mind. And when it creates thoughts, we call it mana, or the mind. Now, there are two aspects of it, as we'll talk about. One aspect is the mind, which creates thoughts, which is the man aspect of it. And the other is the one which analyzes and decides, which is called the buddhi or intellect. In our scriptures, both are used, sometimes interchangeably used, but these are the two aspects of our mind. In fact, the antakaran comprises of four elements: man, buddhi, chit, and ahankar. And man is what the aspect of our mind, man, which generates thoughts. And the buddhi, it analyzes and takes decision. Is it good? Is it bad? Should I do it? Should I not do it? Man might be telling you to keep on sleeping, but buddhi will tell, if you keep on sleeping, your boss will not like it because you have an important meeting at 9 o'clock. Man might be saying take it easy today, but your buddhi will say no. If you take it easy today, you might get stuck in traffic and miss that flight that you need to catch. Man might be saying, okay, I'm not able to focus. Buddhi will tell you need to focus because it is exam time. You only have 3 hours. If you don't focus, then you will fail, and which will not be good. So buddhi is discerning, and it is always analyzing and taking decision. Problem happens where we don't exercise it too often. We pull it out of our hat only when we really need it. in some situations such as exam, or we really have to use it. Otherwise, our buddhi is kind of taken a back seat, and we let our man have a free hit for most part of our lives. Now let's move on. Use the higher mind to elevate the lower mind. Now, lower mind is man, which will simply desire, I need this, I need that, like a stubborn baby. And buddhi is the higher aspect of it, which discerns and decides, is it good for me? Then only I'll go for it. If it's not good for me, I'll not go for it. And that is the power that we need to harness. And that is where Lord Krishna is said buddhi yoga. It's like develop that required wisdom so that you can make right choices and right decisions in your life. He has given it a complete term, buddhi yoga, in Bhagavad Gita. Now let's move on. Sweet intentions. Now, again, extending the stories that we have had, think of it. It's a beautiful Vrindavan, as you can see. Now, you might be living in the holy land of Vrindavan, but then your mind is contemplating on eating those rasagullas in Kolkata. Have you tried that? The spongy ones, they're pretty amazing. One will be deemed to be living in Kolkata. So you are in physically, you are in Vrindavan, but technically, from a God standpoint or from a spiritual standpoint, you are in Kolkata. If you're thinking about rasgullas, okay, that is how fast mind can travel. Okay, so this is where you are, as you can see, rasgullas, because that's what you are thinking. That's where your mind is. That's where you are. Conversely, you might be living in the hubnub of Kolkata, and your mind is in Vrindavan. So you will get the benefit of residing in Vrindavan. So you really don't need to travel all the way to Vrindavan. If you do that, that's good. But if your mind is absorbed there, you are getting the same benefit. This is how powerful this mind is, our mind is. So I hope you're getting the point here. We are where our mind is, not we are where we physically are. So mind carries a lot of weightage in spirituality. In fact, mind is the only thing that matters for God as well. Okay, from God's standpoint, if you look at the instruction that Lord Krishna has given to Arjun as well, right? Mayev, he's saying, give me your mind and buddhi. That's all he's asking for. He's not asking for give me your body, give me your senses, give me your eyes, right? Or give me your hands. He's saying, give me your buddhi. Because that's the only thing we can offer, because we have that free will. So mind aspect is very, very important. And here, if you think about, somebody is thinking about Vrindavan, even though they are in the hustle and bustle of a big city, they are still getting the same benefit. And conversely, you might be sitting in Vrindavan, but thinking about something else, you are not going to get that benefit. So in spiritual practice, intention of mind is what matters, not the external activities. Intention of the mind is the key. Even in the real world, right? The judge, I mean, when people run over somebody, the judge, they try to establish the motive or the intention behind that act. So here also the intention matters, not the actual act. In case of real world, you may have a different police inspector, a different set of witness, judge, cops, all that stuff. But in this case, God himself is the judge. He himself is the policeman. He himself is the witness. So there is no way we can actually trick God. Our intention, our deepest motivation behind doing any act, and where our mind is very, very transparent to God. It is not hidden from Kshirodakshai Vishnu, who's seated within and noting every sankalp, every little sankalp that we are making. Okay, so that and every sankalp that we are making is leaving an impression on our mind, indelible impression on our mind, like a rubber stamp. You put a stamp there, that is sanskar gets imprinted. If you do it for a longer period of time, it becomes even more stronger. So this is how our mind keeps on getting imprints from multiple lifetimes, from every thought that we put inside it. Now let's move on. Mind is the cause of bondage. Mind is the cause of liberation. I hope we've kind of gotten this concept, which is coming directly from scripture. So here is a parrot. Okay, now what are the two sides of the two coin? Here you think about this person, right? Now, if he's thinking about the money part of it, is it a freedom or is it an engagement? Right? So if he's thinking about house and the money, or it could choose to dwell upon God, right? So when you choose to dwell upon God, it is liberating. It's like you have set the bird free at that point. As you can see, it has come out of the cage. But when you're thinking about the world, mind has the ability to think both, right? Now you are encaged it further. So when we think about the world, and especially when we think about the world, why would we think about it? Because we want to enjoy it. And when we think about world, when we want to enjoy it, we are engaging ourselves. It is it is a bondage, right? The bondage that our mind is creating for us. And when we think about God for the pleasure of God, it becomes a cause of liberation. Now you are setting yourself free. So this is the concept that our scriptures are telling us. As you can see in the visuals, it's pretty illustrative from the visual itself. And Kripalaji Maharaj also has said that बंधन और मोक्ष का कारण मन ही बखान, याते कमी भक्ति करू करू मनाते हरि ध्यान. Bonding and liberation depends on the state of mind. Whatever form of devotion you choose to do, keep the mind engaged in meditation on God. When we do that, you will be a free bird, or you're getting closer to that, freedom. When we don't do that, when we're thinking about the world, we are again engaging ourselves. And because we have engaged ourselves, we keep repeating in this world. I think, Harsimran, you have a question?
Yes, Samiran ji, Radhe Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. In this sequence of the images, I I thought of a question like if the bird is inside that cage, he will definitely want to go like get free and be outside of that cage. So in that situation also, if we put ourselves, then if it's stuck in any situation that is not helping us anyway, like then how like in that case is that if the bird is thinking of going outside the cage, is it uh, like and deviating from all the things of all the thoughts of God, then sorry, then how it is wi- my basically my question is if he is stuck inside a cage, then will he not only think about getting outside of that cage, and also that if he has practiced all his time only thinking about getting out of that cage, and when he goes out of that cage in the fourth image, then it is very much possible that he can like go and haywire in the world and do whatever his mind says. So how
You
in
saying
that
staying
situation
is, are you saying staying inside the cage is um, the bird is enjoying some kind of a protection, or
no, like I'm saying it in the terms of like if he is stuck inside that cage, he will always think about why am I here and why did I get here, and he will always think about let me go outside, outside, outside. And when he goes outside, he will like very less chances are there that he will be with God, or he will just wi- go outside and be haywire in the Maya and the worldly things.
okay? I think the concept here is freedom versus bondage. Okay, you are thinking about the okay. So the whole concept here is: are you getting closer to freedom, which is the moksha aspect of it, or are you getting further bound in this world? So the point is, if your mind is dwelling upon world, there can only be two areas. There's no third area. One is world, one is God. Either you are doing things for your own self, or you are doing it for the pleasure of God, right? There's no third possibility. If you are doing it for your own sake, then you are getting further and further entrenched into the world, which is like getting encaged. Okay, this getting encaged and freedom is more of an analogy. But when you are doing it for the pleasure of God, you are cutting the shackles and getting closer to the freedom. Ultimate freedom of the soul is what we are talking about. Now, when you are getting closer to the freedom of the soul, it is good. It's not going to going haywire. Haywire is going when you are getting inside the cage, not when you are getting outside the cage. Now you are aligning. Okay, freedom is good. And that freedom is taking you closer to God. So you're not going getting haywire there. Haywire is already there. Our default state is getting haywire. Because we are our state of mind is haywire, we are thinking there is pleasure in this world and we are dwelling upon the material things only. That is why we are getting engaged. So our life is already haywire in that sense. So I hope you're getting that analogy. That is what is illustrated.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't thought about that. So it's a good point. But I wanted to also tell that in the situation like this, where there is a life and death situation, then वो हमेशा वही सोचेगा कि मैं कैसे इधर से बाहर निकलूं. Like I'm talking about the thing of like situation के बारे में. वो ऐसे सिचुएशन में फंस गया है, वो बर्ड, अगर हम देखें तो वो ऐसे सिचुएशन में फंस गया है जहाँ पे वो यही सोचेगा कि मैं ये केज के अंदर बंद होके रह गया और मुझे कैसे भी करके यहाँ से बाहर निकलना है. और जैसे ही वो बाहर निकला तो वही मैं बोल रहा था कि वो मतलब कहीं भी फंस सकता है या फिर चांसेस विल बी वेरी लेस कि विल बी अलाइन विद गॉड मोर नाउ.
Maybe we can have an
क्योंकि
offline of it.
हाँ,
I don't
because what happens
completely
is that
understand what you're asking in this context. So stuck means you have an awakening that I am stuck in this place and I need to do something about it, right? Which is why we read scriptures or we meet, saints or take guidance from them. But once you start enjoying the freedom, I don't think there is a cause for worry for that. It's a good thing, right? It's like somebody is addicted to cigarettes and now he's losing interest in cigarettes. Why would he worry about it? Oh my God, I'm losing interest in cigarettes. Now you are enjoying the freedom. When you, let's say today you learn let go from a scriptural principle, Bhagavad Gita, something, you learned and you say, I have to let go, not think about my past too much. I have to look forward. Isn't it a freedom? Why will you be worried about it? Let's say tomorrow you come across the Shloka 2.63 and say, I'm going to work on my anger. Okay, consciously and mindfully. So now you don't become triggered just like that. You think, you respond as opposed to reaction. Isn't it a good freedom to enjoy? Why will it make you scared of that part? Tomorrow you wake up and say, you know what, I need to focus on my present as opposed to worrying about the future. Isn't it a freedom that you would enjoy? So this bird which is getting out of the cage is all the freedoms that we are talking about, as opposed to getting stuck in the cage. We are already stuck in the cage. We are trying to break one thing in the prison so that we break all the shackles and finally we are a free bird and we can enjoy the divinity or the pleasure or basically the bliss of God one day. So breaking those shackles is not a cause for concern at all. In fact, it is good. Our mind, when it breaks the shackles, it can enjoy that freedom perpetually because God is going to preserve that freedom for us. He's not going to let us back in that cage. Say, let's say you have worked on your anger or 20% anxiety, fear, worry, you have conquered that. So God will make it a perpetual permanent asset from here on. I hope that helps.
Yes, very much.
Sure. So we'll come back to the remaining hands. Let's complete that and then we'll open it up for our discussion. We are getting close to that anyways. So here is a guy, okay, who's working, and here's a monk. Now, those who do not possess spiritual vision, they see the external distinction between a Karam Sannyasi and a Karam Yogi. This was the topic we picked up, and declare Karam Sannyasi to be superior because of the external renunciation. If you look at it, you naturally have a respect for somebody who's sannyasi, which is good. But then the fact here is that if you look at it, both the mind aspect that we started off with, it's the mind, not what your body or your senses are doing that matters. So in both the cases, mind is in God. That is the common denominator between the two. So a true learned, like Lord Krishna is talking about, is the one who sees Karam Sannyasi and Karam Yogi both as same, because they are identical in their internal consciousness, and internal consciousness is what matters in spirituality. Okay, like there is a saying, right, in Hindi, ये नोट कर लो ये बात, पते की बात, इस नुस्खे को से लाभ उठाओगे, जैसा मन को बनाओगे वैसा ही बन जाओगे. So the way you make your mind, that is how you will end up becoming, is the key here. So we need to really work on this aspect of our personality and feed it with the right kind of knowledge, right kind of sentiments, right kind of thought process, because this will lead lead to shaping our personality as well as our destiny. Because thought by thought, we are forging our destiny anyways. Okay, now we'll open it up. I saw quite a few hands. Let's see if there are any more questions related to this topic. We can certainly discuss those now.
All right. Prabhat Bhaiya, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. So, I just want to, I have some analogy related to the last slide only. Um, can you please move to the previous slide?
Sure. The previous one, this one?
Yeah. So basically, there are two things. Like as sorry, Mishra ji was saying, like there was it's his question was more related to Falgu Viragya, I think. In that way, like if we got Viragya from the word, and after that we will get confused or maybe lost in other things because we haven't got the right thing by that time. So what I was assuming is like if I can see this cave and the door is locked. Suppose the door is open and a bird has option to go, but bird is not going because the bird is not sure that that bird can leave the cage and go to go to get the freedom. Um, and another thing is like the door is locked and we need someone who can come and open that door for us, like our guru, like Swamiji can come and open that door, and then he tell us now you can go and go get the freedom. And that is, I think, the best way, so that we have that security and surety that we are not going to get lost anywhere,
Got it.
kind of.
Yeah. So yeah, basically the freedom, basic mind, yeah, it's the end state, right? Where we are talking about one is binding you inside the cage, other is liberating you from the cage. But yes, to your question, um, if you're it's like more about prematurely renouncing the world, then it is not safe, right? But when we are doing it with the proper understanding and knowledge under the expert guidance of Guru, then you don't have to be worried about it. It reminds me of that movie Shashank Redemption. There was a guy who was in a jail, and when he gets out of the jail, he's not able to cope up with the world outside. Okay, he wants to get, and he ends up taking up his life only. Anyways, that's a different thing. But this whole idea was that you will be getting closer to liberation when you when you start working on your mind, and it's a freedom that you enjoy completely, as opposed to getting further and further encaged in this world, in this material world. So that was the whole idea. And it is perfectly safe to cut the bondage. We are not talking about renouncing the world here. We are talking about working on our mind here and enjoying that freedom incrementally. That is the whole idea. Yes, Ajit, you wanted to add something? Yeah, good call out, Prabhat. I think maybe I missed that point of Falgu Viragya that I think Samiran was talking about. That is it safe to get out of the cage? It is safe, yeah, especially if you have cut the shackles of your mind and you're not prematurely renouncing the world. Okay, yes, Ajit ji,
Radhe Radhe. Radhe Radhe. Nitin ji, I would like to cite two examples. One is India before freedom, and second is the Pakistan after freedom. Pakistan is hungry. First choice for them is the food. And for India, before independence, definitely we want to get independence. Definitely, all efforts were made to get freedom. So, as per Marx's law of psychology, that roti, kapda, makan, safety, security, then last one comes to the spirituality. What you are talking is a very higher level. But for the person who is hungry, physical need, first of all, he will not think of coming out of the cage. Even I have heard people, old people, that they were very happy in the era of slavery with the British people. When they find that it's very difficult to survive nowadays because of the inflation, because of the high price, and unable to survive, they feel that they were better in the cage. So how do you narrate these two things? Your first part is the mind management. That is perfectly okay. But when you uh, extrapolate in terms of your physical needs, spiritual needs, where your mind will go? That is my query.
Sure. No, that's a very valid question. Thank you for posing that question, Ajit. So maybe I can bring it. I have done it in the previous sessions as well. There's something called pyramid of Maslow hierarchy.
Yes.
Maslow hierarchy, first now if I'm born in Somalia, okay, what are you talking about? The person will say, okay, give me food. Okay, I first need food. So food, clothing, shelter, basic needs, right? It starts so that hierarchy builds up. Spirituality is an advanced concept, of course, right? So we start with the basic needs and then we get to the spiritual aspect of it and mind management and all those techniques. I get that part. Now, based on the trajectory that we are on right now here, fortunately, we are in a position to talk about the scripture, right? That to Bhagavad Gita, that to the level that Lord Krishna is telling us, right? So that's why we are focusing on that. But yes, to your point, if you are in a spiritual trajectory where we have to deal with the basic problems of life, sure, that becomes your priority. Spirituality will not come naturally to you in that cases, right? If you go to Afghanistan or some of the countries, war-torn countries, their survival is the key at that point. But we are fortunate enough to be able to digest and take on this message, so we should focus on that. Maybe in one of our lives we have gone past that stage, or maybe in one of our lives we'll again have to encounter that. We'll worry about it at that point. Right now let's focus on what has come our way and focus about it. But to your point, yes, it's very right. And Bhagavad Gita message is, if you look at it, even the message aspect of it, right? Now you may say that, okay, after food, clothing, shelter, let's talk on the basics. Don't steal, don't lie, be honest. Now, Lord Krishna is not telling that to Arjun, right? So, should we stick to that message after food, clothing, shelter? No, we won't, right? Because now we have gotten access to this knowledge, and by virtue of design or however it has been. So, we should try to, make the most of this opportunity and focus on what Lord Krishna is telling, because probably we have gotten this privilege to hear this message and be able to assimilate it in our lives or integrate it in our lives, as opposed to worrying about people who may not have that privilege at this point. We might have been one of those, or we might become one of those. So I would focus on what we can utilize at this point, as opposed to worrying about those scenarios. Yes, that can happen. And in that case, this will be a very far-fetched idea. Spirituality will be a very far-fetched idea. But God has ordained it in such a manner that we can benefit from this knowledge. So I would limit our focus at that only.
Thank
I
you.
hope that
Thank
makes
you so
sense.
much.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot.
no worries. But yeah, I get your point. See, that is why it said that human life is very precious. We don't know whether the factors will converge in any of other lives. What if we are born, first of all, we are not born as humans. Then, of course, there will be a time lag before we'll get this opportunity again. And then secondly, even if we are born humans, what is the guarantee that we will, be born at a place where we'll get access to this knowledge? We have a spiritual spark and we come across saintly personalities who can impart this message to us, and then it's clicking as well, and then we're getting a satsang as well, and then getting access to this. All these factors converging is very, 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 very rare. So if it is happening, let's try to make the most of it, as opposed to worrying about other factors which are beyond our control. Right? We could be in any of those situations, any of the lifetimes as well. And then this opportunity will be lost. Yes, Sandhya.
Just to add to what was just being discussed with Ajit ji,
Mhm.
like, okay, you talked about Maslow's hierarchy, but even then, like, for example, now, whatever state we are in, that we are able to learn about how to do bhakti, this will empower us, even if in future birth we are in a situation where we have to deal with the stress of how to feed ourselves.
True.
These sanskars are going to like be with us forever, right? So like you're saying, thought by thought, we are forging our destiny. So those neural, I mean, whatever, that mind sanskars will be there with us. And I think that will still help in that situation.
Very true. So we focus on bhakti, we focus on the fundamentals, then regardless of where we go, it will help us. A lot of saints, they were born in a very impoverished backgrounds, right? They were not very rich. They had to face a lot of hardships. Now they could have said, okay, let me first worry about food, clothing, and shelter, and then I'll do Radhe Radhe or Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. Though they did not do that. Why? Because they had worked on them, even when the going was smooth, probably, or even if it was not. So bhakti is going to give us the benefits. Good point, call out Sandhya, regardless of whenever we are reborn. So bhakti never goes waste. So we should make the most of it, acquiring the spiritual wealth, and regardless of what happens in future, it's going to benefit us only. We can reap that benefit down the line as well. Good point.
And
Yes.
there are a few
Yeah.
comments in the chat. Can I read them? Or
Yeah.
Manjuji says, Lord Krishna has told to our dharma based on our situation. Also, Swamiji tells what is needed at right now, and that is what we need to do. And Smitaji says, in simple words, the bondage is of Janm Mrityu cycle and the liberation is Mukti. It is in spiritual point of view, spirituality is the purification of mind.
Mm-hmm.
And Manjuji also says whether it is finance, food, or spirituality, based on priority, we need to decide and do.
True. See, spirituality is something, it's an added dimension to our lives, right? So sooner we add it, the better it is. Now, if you postpone it, we may not even get that opportunity. So it's just like any other science. You need to add that dimension, and if you have an opportunity, don't let go of that opportunity. Right? It's not a retirement plan, it's a living plan. It's a day-to-day plan to enrich your life and reap benefits from it. Our mind will make an excuse, let me first do this and do that, and then, spirituality and all that can wait. But those are just excuses your mind is making up. I would say, if you have an opportunity, add that dimension and start reaping the benefits from employing this science in your day-to-day lives. That's how it goes.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll take the rest of the hands.
Sure.
Okay, Keshavji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Uh,
Yeah, it's a very interesting, topic you have discussed. Like the bird, should he go in the cage or not? I tell you, one thing happened last couple of weeks ago. In my house, couple of mouses came. So I, instead of getting the killer mouse catcher, I got the catcher mouse catcher. So I got all the three one by one. I went to leave it in the open space. So one time it won't come out because the ideology and thinking, which they say, if you want to talk to the other person, put yourself in his or her shoes. So I put myself in the mouse shoes. So guess what? So the mouse thinks that I entered from here and I got caught. Now I go through the same opening, I'll be caught forever. So that's why that doesn't want to go out. So I tapped with my foot and finally they went. And guess what? The happiness I got once they were moving out of that pot, mouse catcher, it was awesome. That gave me a very good feeling. And coming to the point, mind. We people talk of cleaning of mind. Mind is just like a mouse. In the modern age, we can compare mouse with the mind. No, mind is not affected. Mouse is not affected of the computer, computer mouse. So guess what? What needs to be cleaned is our buddhi, not the mind. Our body, life journey goes on like a pen stick. What is that? So all data is collected in that. So buddhi में जो mind है, buddhi में जो knowledge है, that is worldly knowledge. We have to convert that worldly knowledge. We need to delete that worldly knowledge and get the spiritual knowledge in this buddhi. And the spiritual knowledge, by listening to you, like Gita classes and attending seminars and doing all retreats, that will keep on increasing the spiritual knowledge, and the worldly knowledge will start getting deleted. And when we do meditation, connect yourself, connect your mind with the heart. In heart, we know uh, chapter 15, Shastra, that is complete Shastra. Chapter 15, Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham hirdi samnishto matta smriti jnanam apahanam. All these come from him alone. Nobody else can give us this.
True.
So world will keep on giving us worldly tortures and desires and pressures and all that. So that's what I wanted to say. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, thank you very much. Yes, that's true. In fact, Lord Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita that he sits in our buddhi and makes it a realization for us, right? So we need to rely on his grace for that. But the sacrifice that we perform in reposing our trust in this knowledge and carving out time for that and contemplation for that, that itself is going to give us the benefit, because Krishna considers it as an intellectual sacrifice, where we are letting our worldly knowledge, worldly concepts take a back seat, give precedence to it, and then it's just a matter of time before it starts becoming a realization for us. Great point. Thank you, Keshavji. Pratyusha, let's hear from you.
Radhe Radhe, Pratyusha ji.
Radhe Radhe, Sandesh ji, Radhe sir, everyone. Actually, I was thinking about the image. If you can just go to that image, like, what do you mean by purification of mind? So I was thinking about that terms, and I realized that when we are talking about purification of mind, it is basically developing conscious desires. So now, what is a conscious desire? So I came across a story about Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, where he was actually when he goes into the very high states of energy levels, he will just stand up and he will say, go to his wife and say, "What is cooking? What is cooking?" You know, and this wife was very disgusting. You are such a highly elevated person, and you know, in the middle of all your satsang and everything, you're standing up and going and you know asking about food. I don't understand this. And then he said, the day that I will stop asking you, I will say no, in that you understand that there's only 3 days left. And then one day he was, you know, sitting in his jula, he eats there, and his wife came with the thali and he said no, and within 3 days he left his body. So what is purification of mind is basically means that we have to develop our desires consciously. That is what we are doing in bhakti. We want to know where we are going and where we want to go. And coming to Samiranji's last question, the last part was like, if you are in a very dire situation where you just you don't know, you want to leave, you want to go. So in that situation, some emergency, some critical, some situation, you just want to go. That means if you leave your body at that time, you don't have that purification of mind to understand where to go. You just want to go. So you will probably make suicide or whatever. You go. Okay. So now where to go? It's a completely unconscious process because your mind is not purified. So when Bhagwan says that, you know, among 20 qualities, he describes this knowledge. But if you want to, only when you develop that, that means it's a conscious desire along with bhakti. So what will happen if there is a conscious desire? You will live life beautifully. And what will happen when we have bhakti? It will, after that, you will reach God. So that's what I wanted to say.
Good part, Pratyusha. Yeah, there are two ways we can make an exit from this world. One is we are forced out, right? When we're not yet there, we don't have the complete understanding. We are forced out, we are out of this body. That astral cord which binds our soul to this body is cut, right, by Yamdut. And second is you can leave it at your own volition. You're already there. You know what is happening. So consciously, you can leave this body only when you have reached that level, right? Through your spiritual practice and through proper understanding that they call it, right? You become, because death is also a two-step process. First, you fall unconscious and then your soul departs. But for you to be able to do it or knowing what is happening at that point, you need to have acquired a lot of spiritual spiritual depth at that point, and your devotional practice should have fructified to a level where you can do it mindfully, consciously when it is happening to you. Anyway, let's get back to our Samiran to see if your questions were answered. Maybe I think in bits and pieces, we're trying to put the puzzle together of what you had asked. So hopefully we got answers to your question. And Sarita ji has said that analogies have limitations. So if you are there, Sarita ji, please explain. We can expound on that since we have a little bit of time. We can talk about the gaps which are there in the analogy so that it becomes a little more wholesome and all encompassing around the concept that we are talking about. Yes, Samiran, did we touch upon some of the questions that you're asking, or?
And yeah, just to add, Sarita ji also says, deal with one tendency at a time. Do not get stuck. From that perspective, she's saying analogies may have limitations.
Okay, yeah, maybe a bit of a nuanced discussion around it would help if you wanted to add on that. Like when you say one tendency at a time, what does it mean? I would say on the path of devotion, if you pick up one virtue, rest all will follow like a pack of noodles. Okay, you don't have to do one and then two and then three and then your whole life, right? So one you pick, the others will automatically follow. It's not possible for you to be honest without being truthful, right? So one virtue you pick and you make it the focal point of your life, like Mahatma Gandhi did non-violence, rest will have to follow. That is the beauty of this path. All things will come all together like a pack of noodles. Yes, Simran, you want
Yeah.
Samiran, you wanted to add something or ask something?
Radhe
Yeah,
Radhe.
like Radhe Radhe. Yeah, thank you everyone for a lot of insights I got. But my only thing was if someone if someone is put in the say cage forcefully, someone has not committed a crime and he has been punished, is being punished. That reminded me of the situation when Pandavas were given the Vanvas for 13 years. Then that they were in a state where they could easily, not easily, but they were in a state where they could use that situation in a much better way as we can. So yeah, many people give an excuse for a certain situation that Bhagwan ने मेरे साथ ये किया. But some people are so fortunate and with the help grace of God, they turn that situation, use that situation rather to do or intensify more their bhakti more towards the Lord. That was one thing I got to realize. But my question was, if someone is not so fortunate and not so elevated, and he gets into a situation where he's being punished for doing that he has not done, like suppose if someone is getting punished for a murder, this and he has not committed that. In that situation, that kind of a situation, how that person is supposed to use his intellect towards God.
Okay,
Those situation
I got your
will be
question.
definitely,
First of all,
yeah.
yeah, I got your question. It could be a wrong timing or it could be your own calling. Okay, certain things are part of your prarabdha that you have to deal with. It could be your past karma which is catching up with you. Okay, if you are wrongly implicated in something, that is also a possibility. Or it could be a wrong timing as well. Regardless, your attitude towards it is going to determine whether you are progressing spiritually, staying where you are, or downgrading yourself. Nelson Mandela, right? He spent 38 years in jail, and there was a time when he was, put inside the jail, and there was some jailer who urinated on him. And when he became president, he actually called them and embraced them, right? Because he said, if I had not, then I would still be living in that prison. So the point is, you may get a raw deal in life, or it could be because of your past karma, or it could be wrong timing. We don't know. But the sentiments that you harbor towards it will determine if you are progressing spiritually or not. You still have a choice, right? Or what is the point of becoming angry with God? Oh, what did you do? Is it going to truly help you? It is going to make your sanskars even bad. And then you'll have to climb over that pit, right? So God is not a vengeant father who's waiting for you to make a mistake and whack his stick at you. No, he's an all compassionate father. even in that situation, you can harbor those sentiments, and then those sentiments are not going to break you. You can come out bigger and better out of that situation. The harder the situation, the greater the opportunity. You have to look at it that way, and that is where spirituality helps. And an ordinary person with worldly consciousness, his response would be very ordinary. Oh my God, God has done this to me, and I don't believe in God, and everything is gloom and doom in my life. This is a very ordinary worldly response. Spiritual person will say, okay, God, you have given me this opportunity. I will still, you know, I still have faith in you, and I'll still put in my best to come out of this. This too shall pass. That is the real benefit of spirituality. You can cut a corner regardless of the situation that you are in, because that's a choice you are making. Okay. I give you an example of Nelson Mandela. There's so many examples in life where people, despite their hardships, they have not become resentful or bitter in their life. They are progressing spiritually. So the choice is ours. Do we want to progress or do we want to regress? We all want to progress, right? So that is where true knowledge helps, true understanding helps. And then your worldly response that would normally people would do, then that worldly response will be substituted by a much higher kind of a response. You will respond to that situation as opposed to give it a worldly mundane reaction. I hope that answers your question, right? Yeah. Yes,
Just to
Himanshu.
just to add to this, Mirabai, Prahlad, Sant Tukaram, they all realized God with the most difficult situations ever possible, right?
True.
For which they were not really responsible, whatever they were facing externally. But they upheld it all for loving God, and yeah.
Yeah, they did not give up that hope at that point as well, right? Mirabai, she was even given poison for no fault of hers. She could have complained and become bitter in life, right? She didn't do that. So
Uh,
the stakes are high for us all the times. If we truly understand the end goal of life, if we truly make the inner growth as our topmost priority in life, then stakes are always high for us, right? Even if the situation is difficult, that's not a big obstacle as such. We look at it that way. Good question. Thank you. Yes, Himanshu, wanted to add something before we move to our devotional segment?
yes, Radhe Radhe Himanshu.
Radhe Radhe everyone, Radhe Radhe Nitin ji. I just wanted to say a quick point about whatever discussion we just had. It was like really a good discussion. But like if we looking at Samiran ji's point, the trust factor and the faith factor is very important towards God, because this is only the first class, right? Because if we don't have trust and faith on God's plan for us, as we have like learned in the earlier classes, then we won't be able to take the negative circumstances and situations as prasad of God, that we have learned from Swamiji and Maharajji, that in any situation we have to accept it because it's our own karma, and God has given that moment in our lives. Even if we are we haven't committed a murder, but then the charge is on us, that is because we have done something really bad in our past. And if God doesn't put that in our current karma, then we won't be able to actually have a proper growth in our spiritual path, if we have to have that trust on God. And that is only the first class, because once we have that faith, and once we become like we get more spiritually elevated, then God again takes our tests in positive, negative and neutral ways. Then again that faith comes back, and that is the real test, if we have actually spiritually developed. And the past point regarding the pinjra and chidiya, I just wanted to say that it is our past tendencies and desires ultimately that will determine if we will think about getting out of the cage, or if we will think about attaching the mind to God. Uh, if we have that kinds of sanskars, then as we have seen Swamiji, that he did his IIT-IIM and then he worked for TCS and then he took sannyas. And and after 5 years of his sannyas, then he got to meet Kripalu Maharajji. So we don't know, we can also do the same thing maybe in the same birth, if we have that kind of passion and an attachment towards God. But ultimately, getting out of the uh, getting off that cage is not important, because if service towards God and Guru is important, that will automatically take us out of the cage. If we think about getting out of the cage, that means we are thinking of moksha or liberation, which is not our aim, because we are not that kind of bhakt. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten this Guru, right? Who is teaching us to do selfless bhakti. So just wanted to like add those
Good points.
points. Thank you.
So I think there are three stages in spirituality, okay, especially on the path of devotion. First, you will say, why moksha? Then you will say, my moksha. Then you will say, by moksha. Okay, so because in devotion, you don't even care about moksha. So first you are saying, why moksha, right? That is how we start. Why do we need that? And then you say, my moksha, I need moksha. And then you will say, by moksha. It will automatically happen. So let's focus on that by part of it, because in devotion, it'll just follow you around that path, right? But yes, to Himanshu's point, Simran, this is where our trust and faith is tested in God. These situations, the prasad buddhi is having an acceptance. See, when good things happen to us, we don't complain to God. Why a good thing is happening to me? Why did you give me this opportunity? So, and then when the bad things happen, we simply accept them as a prasad of God as well. Really bad things. See, if you think about Abhimanyu, he was killed at the age of 16. Who was his father? Arjun, who was a Narayana avatar himself. Who was his mama? Krishna, who is God himself. Who actually arranged for their marriage and who was the Pandit in his marriage? Ved Vyas himself, who has written Bhagavad Gita. Right? So he could have said, I had such a perfect alliance, so many people around me, and still I had to meet that kind of a death. So problems is a part of life. We just have to have a right attitude towards it so that we can grow spiritually, as opposed to saying, why me and this has happened, and getting into a complaint mindset around things. That is where spirituality helps. Yeah. Yes, Swatiji. Are we moving to the devotional segment, or you wanted to add something, Swatiji?
Radhe Radhe
Radhe
Swati ji.
Radhe. Yeah, I just wanted to give my perspective, what I am thinking that about this cage and what Sumiranji is saying, that there is something lacking of faith and knowledge. Once you have that full faith and knowledge, the Guru is there. Why to have doubt in the mind? Just open the cage and go away, fly away with the Guru. And this is the takeaway for me. Yeah, thank you, Radhe.
True. See, the beauty about this relationship is that once it is established, then Guru does not leave your hand. Okay, it is a permanent association that gets established until their journey is complete. And even after that, that association, it's such a beautiful relationship, it continues even after God realization. So it's a huge deal to find a guru and then actually getting this inspiration and then following along this path. There cannot be anything better, more auspicious that can happen to a human life. And in that sense, I think all of us are very fortunate. Awesome. So shall we move to our devotional segment now? Have a few rounds of chantings before we wrap up our session. Please fill out the feedback tracker if not already. Any other announcements before we get into our devotional segment?
Major announcements are regarding the retreats that are coming up. So we have a Bhakti Kirtan retreat happening here only in Dallas, but anybody can attend it from anywhere online as well. And it's free of cost registration. In fact, food is free if you're here in person, so not to be missed. Full-on Bhakti retreat. And as Nitinji just mentioned, right, we are very, very fortunate that we are getting to learn this highest philosophy, that nothing is above Bhakti. Bhukti, Mukti rejected, Bhakti is it all, right? So yeah, so let's make use of that. And I have shared all the links, so please check that out. And I think for now, this is the announcement I wanted to share.
You did the major announcement. Any minor announcements as well?
There are many. Do you want me to go to them?
I think we can do. Let's move to our devotional segment. Play out that three.
And if I could just quickly read this, I really love this, Nitinji. Why Maya and why Moksha? And to add to this,
That was an original one. Okay, I just came up with, by the way. Okay.
wow. So Pratyusha ji said that, you know, her journey has also been like this, like out of ignorance, it was why Moksha. Then she was introduced to Dvait philosophy, it was my Moksha. And then she was introduced through these classes to Advait philosophy, and then she started learning about by Moksha. So now she's at the third stage with all of us after joining the Bhagavad Gita classes.
Awesome, Pratyusha. You always ask very profound questions, and you are like awesome. So keep up the good work. Thank you for that. By the way, you asked questions, so we'll talk about it. Okay, a lot of questions you have asked, so we'll have an offline conversation. Okay, let's get to our Please fill out the feedback tracker if not already, if you have any other more questions. But let's move to our devotional segment. Swati ji has already raised the hand. Is it from the previous one, Swati ji, or you have raised it again? Okay.
Dinesh ji has also. Very nice. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, so many hands. Maybe I'll take Swati ji first because she's raised it first. So Radhe Radhe Swati ji.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe. सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, तन तो है माटी का बना, माटी में ही मिलेगा मना, सब कुछ होगा तजना, संग जाए हरि भजना, सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना. Thank you, Radhe Radhe.
Thank you, Swati ji. Very nice. All right, let's take next hand.
Dinesh ji.
Dinesh ji, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमणा, तन तो है माटी का बना, माटी में ही मिलेगा मना, सब कुछ होगा तजना, संग जाय हरि भजना, सुमिरन सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमणा. राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe. Very nice, Dinesh ji. Thank you. Okay, let's move on.
Shyam ji. Radhe Radhe.
Thank you so much. Radhe Radhe. सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, तन तो है माटी का बना, माटी में ही मिलेगा मना, सब कुछ होगा तजना, संग जाए हरि भजना, सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, राधे 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 राधे, राधे 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 राधे, राधे राधे.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you, Shyam ji. All right, let's move on. We have 3 more hands. Who's next?
Meenu ji. Radhe Radhe.
Meenu ji, Radhe Radhe.
राधे राधे. सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, तन तो है माटी का बना, माटी में ही मिलेगा मना, सब कुछ होगा तजना, संग जाए हरि भजना, सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना. Thank you.
Very nice, Meenu ji. Thank you. Prabhat.
Yes, Radhe Radhe Prabhatiya.
राधे राधे. कर्मन सुमिरन सुमिरन कर्मन सुमिरन सुमिरन कर्मन सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, तन तो है माटी का बना, माटी में ही मिलेगा मना, सब कुछ होगा तजना, संग जाए हरि भजना। कर्मन सुमिरन सुमिरन कर्मन, कर्मन सुमिरन सुमिरन कर्मन.
Very nice, Prabhat. That was a Prabhat's touch to the bhajana. Very nice. And I like your newer version, right? I think you were a little, you're looking different. So very nice. Thank you for that. All right. Who's next? Go ahead, Sandhya.
Yes, thank you. सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, तन तो है माटी का बना, माटी में ही मिलेगा मना, सब कुछ होगा तजना, संग जाय हरि भजना, सुमिरन 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 कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you, Sandhya. Again, it's loaded with philosophy that from dust unto dust, Bible also says that, right? So that is essentially the same message that we are nothing but a recycled atoms of mud, and finally we'll go back to the mud, right? This body is made up of mud, it will merge with mud. And the only thing that will go with us is devotion. So the wealth, it's like there are a lot of gems and precious stones lying around you. If you keep on filling up the coffers with it, and then that is something you can take along with you, and that is the devotion or harinam itself, as Maharaj ji said. So I'll recite it as well, and then can wrap up the session. सुमिरन कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना, तन तो है माटी का बना, माटी में ही मिलेगा मना, सब कुछ होगा तजना, संग जाए हरि भजना, सुमिरन 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 कर ले मना, छिन छिन राधा रमना. All right. Okay, so thank you everyone again for your enthusiastic participation, especially to the ones who have been able to turn their videos on today. And we'll continue on this discussion tomorrow, the same topic, and we'll talk about the secret sauce in both the Karam Yoga and Karam Sanyas. Now that we have established both are identical, but still there is something more that needs to happen in both, right? And that is what we will continue to discuss about tomorrow. So Radhe Radhe, good night, good day from my side. Have a blessed rest of your evening and great rest of your day as well. Thank you. Good night, good day from my side.
Yes, thank you everyone. And in case you have any detailed discussion questions, please fill out the feedback tracker so that can happen offline. So see you all tomorrow. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Good night, good day.